anybody needs one, okay? And I know that they're not the most accurate, but you got everything on the one page that needs to be there. Schedule generally is, we're going to do, in the morning we're going to do orientation, which we're doing now in Kata review. Then we're also going to do WASA review. And if there are things that you think you need help on, if you let me know, we'll concentrate on that. Otherwise, I go off on whatever tangent I'm going on. Okay.
Tangents are fun.
What?
Tangents are fun.
Tangents are fun, but sometimes we miss things. So so if there's something where you're having problems with a particular technique, we'll work on that, and everyone will work on that. Okay, because everyone can use it anyway. 1 to 2:30. We have some new techniques. We're also going to give you a takedown control rule that APD has came up with, and I was there at the meeting 2 Fridays ago. It's an alternative to the carotid choke, which they cannot use now. Again, it's not really acceptable. So they've come up with something else which they're hoping will fly. They call it a head restraint, which, and they know I don't like the name, so I prefer to call it a
choke?
No, it's not on the neck at all, surprisingly. It's a cross cheek nerve press. It sounds less damaging than a head restraint. Anyway, so then after that, we're going to be combining techniques. Certain techniques, you can put some techniques together, you cannot put some techniques together, okay? So we're going to work a little bit on that. This evening at 6:30, we have pizza at Vincenzo's, same place as last one. It's across the street from last year, okay? And if you kind of like use this place as a reference point, you go back out to White's Canyon, and you go up White's Canyon, which becomes Plum Canyon at some point. And then just before you get to Bouquet Canyon, on the right side, there's a strip mall type thing. And there's Vincenzo's in there, and La Cucina, which is Mexican, and a couple other places. And so that's where at 6:30 we will be having pizza, okay? And if you want to buy beer or anything else, that's on your own. But if you're going soft drinks or whatever else, I take care of that. Okay, tomorrow morning, we're back here bright and early at 9 a.m., okay? And now you know where the place is. And we're going to be taking, working on concepts, stuff from the Advanced Concepts book in terms of improving your execution of techniques, whatever techniques you happen to know, okay? Then we're going to have lunch. After lunch, we're going to be doing jutte, okay? And I have enough juttes for, I have 1, 2, 6, 9, I think about 9 or 10 jutte here. Not that all of you are going to, only half of you are going to use them at one time.
The one I thought I brought is not in the bag.
Oh,
and the one I ordered 4 weeks ago never arrived.
Okay. Jutte are hard to find in this country now. And the ones I got are really, the last 6 I got are really funky ones. But anyway, and so once I got those, I said, on Monday I realized, gee, maybe I should get some wrapping tape and pre-wrap. And so before we work out with those, we're going to pre-wrap and wrap ourselves in wrapping tape to, because otherwise, even through a double weight gi, there's a tendency for people to get scratched and cut up with them. And I don't like people walking home with, now you're going to get chunks of skin torn out, but you got scratches on their arms, and scratches on their necks.
So it's actually a blade?
No, it's not a blade.
I don't know what it is.
It's not a blade, but because it's the hook part, sometimes that's used to dig into the, so it's actually a ripping weapon. So, yeah. So we're going to tape ourselves up properly so that we don't get cut up in the process. That's in the afternoon. Then you're going to get to go wherever you're staying. We need to make some decision today as to if some of us want to get together tomorrow night for dinner, where, okay? And that's, everybody pays their own, okay? And we can go, if you want, we can go to the Japanese restaurant again and start doing, shouting out Jujitsu technique terms, and the cook will start asking us again if we speak Japanese. Which is what that's last year. Yeah, we say, "Oh, sorry, animaki komi." You know, guys are looking at us and says, "You guys speak Japanese?" Hi. so anyway, then on Sunday, no one has requested testing as of this point. So Sunday morning, at this point, it says here counters and reverses. That's a possibility on the certificate. I have ground defenses and groundwork. So I'm not exactly sure which one we're going to work on. We may work on both.
Oh.
And that will go till 12:30, and then around 2:30 or so, we have a luncheon that's paid for, again, you know, wine and beers on your own, but and I have to decide where that's going to be. Okay, there are 2 or 3 choices I'm looking at, and I'll probably ask you guys today which one would you prefer, and you'll tell me, and I'll call up and say reservations for 9 or 10. Nothing to deal with. Okay, so that is the plan. Okay. We're going to start out. Let's start out with basics. Okay. Because we're going to use this same concept for Tekkubi Shimiwaza.
English.
Kote, wrist. Okay. Wrist lock takedown.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that one. Got it.
No. Hand for Tenagi. Okay, hand. And we're just going to start out, you know, Kote Gaishi. Okay? Okay. And there is a tendency when people do this that they're coming in here fine and then they're twisting their wrist, okay? And that supposedly does the throw, okay? And you're not twisting the wrist, okay? So what we want you to do, rather than coming in here and trying to twist the wrist, okay? Because all he has to do, as you twist, is all he has to do is make a fist, and you've lost it. Okay? It's the easiest way to counter this. Now, if you do this too fast, or go the other way. Now, if you do this too fast, you can't do that. Okay? But in most class situations, all you have to do is make a fist, and then you can turn the other way, and you're out of it. Okay? It's toast. Okay, so what we want you to do is set this up. Okay? Now, instead of twisting, what you're going to do is you're going to push right to the outside of his elbow. Okay? You're just going to keep pushing in this direction. You're going to have this close to your body, and all you're going to do is turn your body.
Okay.
Okay? And that this ends up locking the joints. We get that in the advanced book. Okay? With parent joints and why people actually get thrown. Okay. So again, this is just your basic Kote Gaishi, Tenagi. Some people call it a outside wrist throw versus this one, or wrist takedown, versus this one, which is inside, which we call Tekkubi Shimiwaza. What's it called in Danzanru would be?
Katate Tori.
What?
Katate Tori.
Kata?
Katate Tori.
Katate.
Katate Tori.
Tatata?
Single. Katate Tori. Single hand.
Josh, this is
Oh,
why
yeah,
it
yeah.
isn't any better in English. Okay. Okay, so
This is kote, this is sote.
okay.
So.
Shalom. Okay, so you're going to come in here, you're going to set it up, okay, and all I want you to do is step forward and you're going to push right to the outside of his elbow, okay, in that direction, and you're going to turn your body, and that will take him down. Okay, since we're here, and all of you know this submission, okay, fairly well. What we want you to do is keep the wrist, okay, you've got the wristband. We want you to step around his head, okay, notice where my knee is, okay, and the reason my knee is here is because if I just go like this, he has a lot of slack, okay, If I go like this, I'm not going to have any slack. Okay. Anyway, your knee is here. I'm going to turn this. Okay. My knee is still here. Okay. It's keeping his body forward so that he can't do anything with that other arm. Okay. This is where my knee is. Okay. Right on the inside. I get to here, and then I can pivot around. And simply by turning his wrist, I'll bring him over for his stomach. Now, a couple of commands you want to give this poor idiot. Okay? Number one, get your arm out from under you, sir. Thank you. And two, turn your head the other way. Okay. Why turn the head the other way?
It loosens up the muscles on that side.
Okay. He thinks he's more comfortable. Okay. He can't see what you're doing. It allows you to get this shoulder closer to the ground, and ultimately, whatever else you're going to do is going to be more effective. So you always have him turn the other way. Okay. If he has an arm under him, have him get it out. Because you need to see what's there. That's another reason. He could, get a blade someplace or a gun. You need to see that other hand. So these are things for your protection. Okay, so again, I know this is basic. You okay?
Shoulders.
Okay. You're here. Step in. You're going to push. Take him down. Okay. Come in like you normally do. Okay. This foot's going to stay here. Hand's going to come here. You're going to go around his head. Okay. Bring this back. Turn his wrist. He will come over. You pull slightly. His hand is out. You turn the. See, he's a fast learner. Okay. And from here, all we're going to have you do is press, do a wrist press. Now, if he were to relax this arm, if he could, which he can't, okay, if you have it, okay, if you have it, if he relaxed, if you get down here to the side, he relaxes the arm, you've lost it, okay? But because
you can turn it around.
there are other things you can do, yes, but I want to try and keep this straight line so you can push down, okay? Because it's not hard to keep that arm locked up as long as you have the wrist press. Okay? So everyone, that's another basic one, just to refine it a bit. Okay, now, my students know this. I usually don't allow them to grab lapels too much once they get beyond yellow belt, because all this stuff can be done for lapel grab, but if you have a person swing at you, okay, you get to practice your blocking, et cetera, and most jiu-jitsu people are incredibly lazy anyway, so, okay. So rather than grabbing lapel, unless I say grab lapel, make it I want a straight in hip, okay? I do not want a roundhouse, okay? Because roundhouses you can see coming a mile away, okay? So he's going to come in, okay, I'm going to block, okay? This hand is going to come around, okay? Okay, now, don't make a big arc. Okay, when you're showing new students, you make the big arc so they can get the concept, okay? What you want to do is keep things as tight as possible. This hand is here, okay, and it's going to serve as a base for a moment as you have to watch my footwork here, okay? All I'm going to do is I am going to rotate on this point, step back, okay? I brought it into me again, okay? And all I'm going to do from here is bring it against chest height, and chest height, all I have to do now, I can either step into him or I can sidestep, and as long as I maintain that at my chest, I'm going to be okay. Okay, now, he's on his side. That's not good, okay? Because
That's his bad shoulder.
okay, I will believe you. Okay, okay. There it is. Okay. Now, this is not good. Okay. So what you need to do is, rather than trying to continue to push on the shoulder down in that direction, because he can turn away from me at this point. What I need to do is apply more pressure at the wrist. Okay. With the thumbs, bend the wrist further, and that will cause him to go, sir, take your arm out. Now, if you sense he's not going to be
I'm being cooperative, damn it.
a good step kick, the side base of ribs works wonders, and they also crack the ribs, okay, but it will get him to cooperate, okay. Turn your head the other way, please, sir. Okay, now, from here, we have a number of things we can do, okay. And this is not your good shoulder?
Yeah, it's a bad one. You want to switch?
Yes,
Start from the beginning.
Here, over. Okay. Block. Okay. Step back with that foot. Okay. I'm here. I'm going to take him down. Okay. Now we need to turn around so they can see what's going on. So let's rotate. We spray the silicone spray on that. Okay. We're here. Okay. You're in this position. All I want you to do from here is you're going to step over, go down on your knee, and set a wrist brace. Okay? If by some quirk, upper belts can try this. If by some, where'd Tony go? I mean, where'd Thomas go? I saw him, he was in his gi.
There's somebody there, yeah.
To his car. Here he is. Wow.
Okay. If by some quirk he is sufficiently strong, and the only person I've seen actually do this to me was Steve Coffey, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. He can actually rotate. No. He could actually rotate his body, put me over backwards on my back, okay, and over here. And that's why he let him do it.
Then do the reverse to him.
Why should I reverse him and dislocate his elbow?
Because it's really cool.
Okay, so upper belts, if you want, you come over and just go into your arm bar. Okay, do not bring him right up the middle. Okay, okay, bring him to one side works better. Okay, and some people tend to thrust up with their hips. If you're in really tight, and I'm not in that tight, I can still get my hand for you. But if you're really tight, thrusting up with your hips isn't going to do anything. You've got to go one side or the other. Because the way his arm is bent, I'm going to go to my left side. Okay?
Good.
Very good. Okay, do we need to see it again? No. So we did this on the left side?
Yes, sir. One more time.
Let me show someone who doesn't have a bad right shoulder. Someone not have a bad? Okay. Okay, we're going to start out this way so we can. He's going to be here, going to block. Okay, right hand reaches down. Okay, from here, I'm going to keep him against my chest. Right hand, take him down. You okay?
Yeah.
You suffer so well. From here, I'm going to step over. Okay, and go down. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to sit on his shoulder. You comfortable?
Yep.
Good. Here, I don't believe you. And that's basically it. And you can stay here for a long time. Okay?
Right.
Until help comes. Okay? As long as he doesn't have any friends. If he has friends, this is the worst place to be.
Break the arm, go on to the next
You
guy.
you go for the shoulder or the wrist, and then you go on to the next person. Okay? Now, if he rolls me over, okay, which is back this way. Okay, I'm simply going to go with it. Okay, and I'm setting it for on. Okay, if he can do it, okay, if he has the mass and the strength and the leverage, and he can do it, you can spend all your time fighting it, and it's still going to happen. So you might as well realize, gee, I can go into this, okay. Then we have to show the counter to get out of this. Okay, Jiu-Jitsu, and I have a hard time getting my students to do it a lot. They don't do it unless they're told to do it. Okay, and it's something that they should learn early on, and it should be automatic. Who wants to be goofy? And that is
a big sweaty guy.
I'll tell them you're going to come in and you're going to practice Koshinagi hip throw. So what do they do? Okay, if they're lucky, they swing at each other. Okay, so you're going to swing. And you come in and you do a hip throw and you're set. Okay, and you throw them. Hunky dory. Okay, but they're leaving some really important things out. Okay, and that on the street, you very rarely can come in and just do a hip throw or whatever throw you're going to do. Okay, and so part of improving the kata is that they need to loosen this person up. Okay, and I'm not even dealing with coming with a hip throw and pulling him. Okay, or he's going to be providing the momentum to do the throw, in which case it becomes a hiki to an extent, pull through. Okay, hiki is H-I-K-I is to pull. Okay, what's forgotten, what you turn around, is that when you tell students to do koshinagi, okay, you want to come in and you want to loosen them up. You want to strike to the face, to the groin, anything that will loosen, that distract them, take their mind off of it. Okay? Even if it's come in, tweak their ear. Okay? It doesn't matter. Ears are hard targets to get. Okay? Or box their anything. Okay? And that has to become part of their kata for any throw. Okay? Because out on the street, you have to distract. If you distract, what do you create? We talked about it Thursday night.
You delay the reaction.
You delay the reaction, you create a time gap of window about 3 to 7/10 of a second. Okay? And that's why for those, for those, some people have a good background in karate, they'll come in and do 3-4 hits, okay? And whether or not they do it for effect is irrelevant, but the problem is that everything they do creates another reaction time gap, okay? And so by the time you get him to do the throw on this person, he's so he's worrying about hit number 3, you've done hit number 5, and now you're coming in for hit throw, there's nothing he can do, okay? Because his mind is still back on, oh, I just got nailed in the groin, that hurts, okay, I'm going to bend over, okay? And you've already done something else, okay? So what we want you to do, we're just going to keep it really simple, okay, is he's going to come in with a hit, you're going to block. We want you to strike in, solar plexus, okay? It's a turn of the body, don't forget this. Because, see, the retraction isn't, technique-wise, it's part of the technique. But the reality is your body's not going to be here anyway, okay? So you're going to come with a strike, okay? At this point, as you start to retract, your body is going to step in, and you're now going to strike with, just below the elbow, same place. Okay, you've got a second one. And now you're going to come in, and you've turned in tight now too, okay? You can do your koshinagi, harigoshi, taitoshi, makikomi, anything you want. Okay, so I'm not going to restrict what throw you're going to do. Do any throw you want. What I want to see you do is get at least 1, 2, 3, at least 2 hits in before you actually do the throw. Are they being done for effect? No. Okay, are they being done to distract? Yes. Okay. If they happen to break a rib or hunky-dory, but that's never your intent. Okay. Because that way when you get hauled into court and, gee, when I hit him this way, I cracked his sternum, and I came in with the elbow and it broke a couple ribs.
Bonus points!
You don't tell that to the judge. Yeah, you're surprised because that wasn't your intent. Your intent was to distract, not injure. Okay? Your intent can never be to injure a person. Okay, very good. I like to see students do make mistakes on them, and they always have to be corrected. And sometimes because the instructor is involved, but unlikely, so I use okay. And so we brought this person down to the hand throw. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and let's try to do it this way. Okay, now number 1, you want this person on his back. Why not?
Because he's got 3 weapons and
He's got 3 weapons and teeth that he on his back. You want him on his side. Okay. Secondly, you want him on his side, and you bring in a leg so that he can't
Roll over
onto his back. Okay. The other reason the leg is there is you can pretty well sense what he's going to do if you have some body contact. Body contact. Okay. This is not body contact. This is extremity contact. Okay. So I get a pretty good sense of what he's going to do. Move a hand. See, I can sense that with my leg before I sense it with my hand. Okay. Okay. So you're going to have him here on his side. You're going to come down. Okay. Okay. This hand is going to go down. You're going to go on the back of his knuckles, not the back of his hand. Okay. This is a nothing. This, all he has to do is make a fist, okay, and he brings his left hand up, I don't know, grab onto your elbow, and pull it through. Okay, that's that. That's so much for that concept. Okay, okay. That's one of the rules, is through and pull. Okay, so when you do this, you go down to the knuckles, okay? And the right hand, a lot of students will make a fist and they think this is how it's done. Okay, you have to clamp on with your fingers and thumb. Okay, now at this point, make a fist. Because you're on his knuckles, if he tries to make a fist, it's going to hurt him. Okay, this is what's called leverage. Okay, and if you ever get in the court, I've been there once. Okay, if you can explain logically what you're doing, and that this person is resisting, and I'm literally not doing anything. I have set the hold. If he wants to fight it, he causes himself pain. And if you can explain that in a court of law, you know, hey, I'm not using force on him. I'm not using as much force on him as he's using on me. Okay? And you always are in a situation where you're using a lower level of force, which is critical to protecting yourself legally. Okay? So anyway, from here, okay, all I do now, some people will then try to lift. Okay? And when they lift, this has a tendency to come out. Okay? So rather than trying to lift,
Look up to the ceiling, right? That's what I do.
okay, what you want to do is take your hips and move your hips in. Okay. And then what that does is that straightens up your whole body and creates a nice y-axis parallel to the axis of his upper arm. Okay. And you're not exerting any more effort. You're just doing a nice clean submission. And it's simply, instead of pulling up this way, you bring your hips in, and that extends the pressure this way and upward. Okay, and that's a much simpler way to do it. Okay. If you're going to have any problems with this person, you can put a knee into the side of his head. Okay, you can come around under his chin. Okay, you can turn it this way, you can go this way. Okay, whichever one you happen to be in the mood for doing. Okay, okay. But this is safe. But you've got to set this up properly, and it'll work every time. And if you do this really fast, it'll snap the wrist, which is what the intent of the wrist lock is to snap their wrist.
It's not a control hold?
Yes, but if they resist, they're going to snap their wrist. Okay? Or if you have a couple other attackers, you'll just come up quickly on this and snap their wrist. Breaking a person's wrist is a relatively minor injury.
Yeah, but it never heals.
It does. But
It
that's
never
what they
fully
get. That's what
recovers.
they get for attacking you in a group. Yeah. That's what they get for attacking you in a group. If it was only one person, because see, then you get into the issue of you have to cause. If you have more than one attacker, you have to deal with not only physical damage but psychological intimidation. Okay, and sometimes if you do a lot of damage to one attacker, the others will back off because they don't want to risk the injury. Particularly if it's done really fast and you're still standing, the guy's on the ground with a broken, dislocated shoulder, or broken wrist, or or
Screaming pain.
screaming in pain, and you're there in a ready position. Even if there are two other guys, they're going to say, "Is it worth it?"
And especially if it makes a really loud snap.
Yes. And if you've ever heard the first night I started teaching Jiu-Jitsu back in the 60s, I had a brand new student came in to do a hip throw. He hadn't even made, it was his first night, he hadn't even made contact with his uke. And he twisted on his leg, it sounded like a broom handle, and he broke his leg.
Oh, God.
And everyone in the whole gym stops and turns. And fortunately, he went into shock right away. He didn't feel it. But he could look up and see his leg is kind of like bent in a weird position, hanging there. And so in any case, but it's, once you, it's just like taking a broom handle or dowel and breaking it. That's what it sounds like. It's a loud crack. And you never forget that sound. So anyway, I want you to come out and try the wrist lock lift, and it's really important. Set it up and then bring your hips in rather than trying to lift up. And again, I want to make my emphasis, part of this is protecting your own body in the process of defending yourself. Okay, so let me use Tony here. Okay. One of the things we have a tendency to do, students have, and everyone has a tendency to do, you have a tendency to watch your attacker's face. Okay, because as humans, we are very sensitive to facial expressions and all that other stuff. Okay, and the problem is that if you have a person who's going to be coming to hit at you, and you are looking at their face, okay, if you don't get this block, or he comes in with another one, and you're still looking at his face, and you get hit in the face, that's going to mess your life up a bit. Okay, you don't want to get hit in the face. If you get hit in the side of the head, that's bad enough, but it's nothing compared to getting hit inside. Am I messing myself up here?
Yes.
Okay, getting hit in the side of the head is not as bad as getting hit in the front of the face, in front of the head. Okay, so when you're coming in, okay, you always, as you step in, you always want to make sure he's got a human body. You know where things are at. Okay, all of us are built basically alike. Okay, you don't need to look to see that, gee, his arm is up here. I know that if I swing down here, odds are I'm going to get into his groin. Okay, okay. If I come up here, I'm going to get to his head. Okay. If I come in here, I'm going to get to ribs. You don't have to look to where you're attacking. You always want to look, have your head in line with your body, or not even looking at this person. Okay. Number one, because you don't want to see the pain in his face. Okay. Because that'll affect how you deal with the rest of it. You need to do your technique. So it's really important when you're coming in for a hit, okay, okay, you're always going to have your side of your head in, okay. Even if I'm going for a hit here this way, where I'm going to come in and go down, my head is still turned sideways. That's because my body, I'm not facing him this way, okay, I'm facing him this way. Okay, so line your head up with your body, okay. Or better yet, your body will follow the direction your head is facing. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to consider. So all I want you to do is go through a series of attacks. Okay, either right. Okay, and you're going to step in and do whatever you want to do. Just don't throw them. Or it can be a left. Okay, okay. And I don't want you looking at him. I want your side of your head towards him. This is for your own protection. Okay. Also, another thing is, even if you block with one hand, is you need to get that other hand up there. Okay? In case he hits with the other hand. Okay? You may be able to block it. If you don't block it and he hits you, at least you got something in between. Okay? And I don't like having it facing away, because this is not, my arm won't flex as much this way as it will this way. And I'm looking to get hit with the inside. Have you ever been hit with the backhand? Okay. That hurts. Okay. And I just soon get hit this way than hit this way. Okay. Okay, so that's the other reason for it. Plus, this is a little more flexible this way. It'll conform to your face. Okay. You can do the, what's the advertisement on television now? For the shoes? Yeah. The Russians? Okay. It took me a couple ads to figure out what was going on. So you're going to come up here, and this hand is going to come up to protect, unless it started to go in for something else. But you've got to protect your head. Okay? So that's all I want you to do is try this. Right hit, left hit. Some of you, if they want to kick you, if they want to do a bear hug on you, bear hug, you're still not going to look at them. You don't need to look at them. You know where their body is. Okay? Their face is irrelevant.
Well, what about for identification?
When he's down,
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, I mean, you know, your number one concern is protecting yourself. Okay? Identification is down the road someplace. If you can protect yourself, and a second you're lucky enough, you know, and escape, or you're lucky enough and you bring this other person down, then you can worry about identifying him. But your main concern is protecting yourself. And eyewitnesses, for the most part, are lousy eyewitnesses anyway. Most people can't give an accurate description. And even if you get, you know, 3 or 4 people that see it, see the person, they will have difficulty giving an accurate description. Teaching students how to get out of headlocks can be very risky. So there are some basics you need to, because they need to protect, for a headlock, what do they need to protect?
The head.
Neck. The neck is what you need to protect, okay? Because that's what the arm is around, okay? Your head's fine. Head's not, you know, I don't know why they call it a headlock.
The neck lock.
Because your head is not being locked. There's nothing being done to the head. It's the neck that's
The
being...
headlock's very easy to get out of.
Yeah.
An actual headlock is the
Yeah.
easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So what we want to do, I'll use Byron here. Okay. No. Okay. Anyway. Okay. When you do a headlock, okay, unless the person is exceptionally good at setting a headlock, okay, there is always going to be a gap, 2 gaps in the headlock. Okay, just keep your arm here. Okay, now, actually there are 3. Okay, and that's where you have, it's a triangle. Okay, and so your gaps are going to be down here, here, and up here. Okay, so you've got 3 gaps.
The angles.
Yeah, where the angles are. Okay, and as long as you use 2 of them, okay, you can protect your neck. Okay. So we're going to show you a release to get out of a headlock. But the first part you're going to do regardless of whatever kind of headlock you get into. Okay, and that is when you get into a headlock, the first thing you want to do is there's a natural tendency to turn away from the person, which comes under the heading of stupid. Okay, because if you turn away from the person, it exposes your chin, and he can get in better. Okay, and then you're stuck. Okay. So what you want to do is turn your head into the person, okay? Because you need to work this gap here, okay? You need to turn your head in and bring your chin down. Why do you bring your chin down? Because it makes it difficult for him to get his arm under your chin, okay? So you're in, even if he uses 2 hands, okay? What you want to do is good, decent headlock, okay? Is you need to turn your head in, bring your chin down, okay? This is not going to be comfortable, but at least you're not choking to death. Okay, a simple release is, we'll give you this one here. You're here, you brought your chin in, bring one hand, inside hand to his hands, and hold on for the fun of it, okay? Other hand, I'm sorry, you're like this. Grab hold, this will get on the back of his elbow, and you're going to simply push it forward, and you're out. And this is a release for even a fairly secure headlock.
Can you do it with glasses? Or
It's going to take your glasses off. That's why I took mine off, because frames are expensive. Okay. Okay, so if we're doing a headlock, you may want to take your glasses off. Also, because the glasses, even though you can get for headlocks, you can get scratched. Okay, so again, what you want to do is you're in this headlock here. You're going to grab hold, turn your head into him, bring your chin down, and then all you're going to do is push, and you're out. Okay, now from here, he is now wondering where you went.
what happened?
We're going to give you a real simple takedown, because there is an opening there still, right? And obviously you're not going to put your head back into it. Okay, you have this hand here. All we're going to do is have the hand go up. Okay, and then you can bring him down either knife edge or flat, whichever you wish. Get your right leg back, and use that. Bring him to you, don't go to him. Okay, it's really important on the street. Whatever you do, Your technique, you have to exert pressure, nerve, or leverage so the person comes to you. Okay? They want your help. Okay? So again, and this can be a fairly secure headlock. So if you get some gi burns on the side of your head, that's okay. Okay? You want a fairly secure headlock. This hand's going to hold on. Okay? Turn in, up, in through. Okay? Now all I have to do is bring the left leg, right leg back down, and bring him into me. Okay? If I lost him, as I've left him here, okay, I'm going to go for a wrist press, because that's all I really have at this point. This is still a wrist press, okay, and it sucks, okay. Now I'm into something a little safer from my book. Get down, sir. Okay.
Finger
Nerve
lock.
on a fingertip. Okay.
On
Yeah, once you lose a grip, to try and go back and recover it is going to be almost impossible on the street. Okay, so you just have to go with what's available. Okay, and if you want to go for another extremity, fine. But don't try and get back to the same thing, because it's very unlikely that you'll get it back. And you're wasting a lot of time and effort.
because he already knows what
He knows what you're going to do, and he's not going to let you do it. Okay, you have to realize from this position, okay, once you can hit it, I think to, who is it, Jared or Corey? The other one? Jerry. You're Jerry. Yeah. Sometimes we have a tendency to stand clear out here and try to get at a right angle to Uki, okay? And what you have to realize is that if you're trying to get at a right angle, excuse me, you're actually turning your head towards your shoulder, and it's kind of hard to pull that way, okay? So it's really important that when you get into a headlock, is you want to bring your body in line with your head, okay? Now, let's say you realize this is not going to work. You have some other options you can do, okay? And we're going to do two of them. You have to realize if a person has you in a headlock and you can't get out of it, you have to go down with them. It's really important, okay? So I want to move, I want to do two, and I want to go down both times, okay? The first one, you've got to hold on to him up here. It's critical, okay? The first one, and I'm going to put it here. And most of you are used to this one where you pivot the leg back, okay? You can go down, take him down the side. This time we aren't going to do that. We're simply going to bring this leg hand in here just to hold on, and I am going to sit down. Okay? Now, excuse me. You okay? Okay. We need to turn him around. Okay. Okay. He has me in a headlock. Okay. I've reached up. I grabbed the lapel. Okay. This holds it. And that's about it. Okay. This hand is simply going to come up under his chin, make a fist, and I've got to bring one leg up, probably my right leg, and I'm going to put all my weight onto the side of his neck. Okay? Okay, if you want to switch hands down there, you can. But whatever it is, if he's still having a headlock here, and you're down on the ground, okay? Whether it be this takedown or the other one, and he has you in the headlock, you do not want him to be able, the reason this is up here is so that he can't straighten his leg out. If he can straighten his leg out, he can roll me over, okay? He's got a good choke. If I'm up here, he now can't do that, okay? That's the only reason I'm holding on, okay? This here is what's going to get the release from the headlock. And by shifting my weight up, I've got to be able to put a lot of weight on the side of his neck. And that eventually will release the headlock. Because I put weight on the side of him. I'm basically doing the same thing he's doing, but I'm using leverage and weight. He's using strength. Okay? So I want you to do the takedown. Get this up there and grab something. Okay? Shirt, hair, ear, inside of mouth. Okay? So that he can't get his leg straight. That's to protect yourself.
Can we see the initial move one more time?
All we're doing is we're here. Okay, this hand is here. This hand is up here. All I'm going to do is basically sit down, bring this leg in. I'm going to sit down between his legs. Okay? What I have to do is just sit down. Now, the problem with this technique the students will have, okay, is there is a tendency, and this is rough on their necks, okay, when you're doing this, hold back over a second. There's a tendency when you say sit down, they'll put the leg here, and then they'll go sit back down there, okay, and they wonder, why has my neck suddenly gotten 3 feet longer, okay, why can't I sit down, okay, and the reason is because when you sit down, what I'm saying is you're in here, all I'm going to do is take this leg, and I'm going to kick it forward, okay, his back of his leg, essentially, my crotch is going to go down the back of his leg. Okay, that puts me in line with him.
What you should concentrate on is when you go to sit down, you want to sit down right behind his heel.
Right.
Okay? Look at his foot, sit down right behind his heel, not back there somewhere.
Okay? You're going to get pulled up there anyway. Okay? You're going to get pulled up there anyway so that you're headed wherever he has it. But that's where you're aiming for.
And also, if you sit back too far, you have a tendency to actually sit down on your leg, and that's not comfortable.
No. So anyway, that's because this is a very similar to a reverse for Koshinagi,
The
reverse for
elbow lock.
Taitosh. Let's come around and do this from the front as a counter. And we're doing it's just the same thing, but we're doing it from the rear. Okay? So, let's have you try this. Make sure you know where you're, do this slowly so you know where you're throwing the person. And, actually, I don't know how we got this. These are, for those of you that are sensei, you know that these are about twice as much as these. Crosswise. And these last, if you get students that are really aggressive, these last maybe 10 minutes. And they break right here. Okay. So years ago, I went to wood ones, and the only problem with wood knives is because I had this happen to a student in junior high. One of our ground boys decided to stop one of these with an open hand, and it ripped his hand open. It was really a mess, a lot of stitches. Fortunately, there's no nerve damage. Okay, so he was, about 6 weeks, he was back fine, relatively, and it healed up okay.
Hi, I'm back.
From that, what I did after that was I'll take a file or sandpaper and I just sand down the tip. Okay. The only other problem with wooden knives is you have to tell the students keep hold of these suckers. Because rubber knives sometimes, they do a technique, see the knife fly off into the sunset, it whacks another student. It hits a window. These things, if they hit another student in the head, they'll hurt. Okay. These things will go through windows.
It will also go through mats.
Also go through mats, okay? It'll also go through,
Skin.
what do they call it? Drywall, okay? Okay? Because if you're doing a good hand throw, okay, and that knife takes off, it's going to take off. Okay, so, Miss Karina. Anyway, okay, so.
She's run off with a circus performer.
She's what?
Run off with a circus performer.
Run off.
With a circus performer.
Right, okay. Okay, so we need, one of the problems students have when they're working with weapons, let me borrow Thomas, okay, is he comes into this knife, okay, and you're going to do your technique, and you throw in, okay, and you take the weapon away, and he gets up. Okay, we did this last night with guns. Okay, students tend to learn what you teach them. It becomes habit. Okay, so just in terms of changing an instructional sequence, okay, is when they come in here, you do your throw. They take it down. You're done. Okay, secure it, and you're back in a ready position. Don't throw it away, don't put it on the ground, secure it. Once you're in your ready position, I know this takes more time to do. Okay. Put it on the ground. Step back, let them pick it up. Right? Okay. It's a stupid little thing. Okay. But what's going to happen is if, God forbid, in a street situation, they put it here, they're going to take the time to think before they put it back down on the ground for him to get, rather than saying, here's the knife back.
Here.
Because what we're doing as instructors is we are conditioning our students. Okay, we need to get them into certain mindsets. Okay, you know, as instructors, teaching students how to, there's no problem falling, it's how to land. Okay, you have, landing is the problem. You have to unteach certain things about landing. You don't reach out when you're going to fall. Okay? Why? What happens when you reach out? You break things. Okay? There are certain things you, as an instructor, you have to untrain your students from doing. Okay? Someone pulls a weapon on you, they can't react in fear and say, oh my God, oh my God. They have to be able to react to the attack. Okay? So you're doing a lot of, part of your training as a sensei is you're I don't want to say you're messing with their mind, but you are messing with their mind, okay? You're getting them to think differently, okay? And this is one of those things. So what we're going to have you just, and I don't care what the attack is or what technique you want to practice, okay? He's going to come out, he's going to do some attack with a knife, okay? And you're going to come in, do your technique, or we'll do this one instead, okay? Take him down, secure the weapon, okay? And then when you're done, okay, put it on the ground, let him take it again. Okay? And yes, it does take more time. But it's a matter of programming your kids, your students on how to protect themselves. And it's a waza situation. The technique is irrelevant. The weapon is irrelevant. If it's a gun, you secure the gun. Okay? If it's a machete, you secure the machete. Okay? If it's a flashlight, you secure the flash. It doesn't matter what it is, you secure it.
If it's a mace, you secure the mace.
If it's mace, and mace is a whole different story, okay? If you buy that stuff, or encourage other people, have them get the kind that's alcohol-based, not water-based. Law enforcement, for the most part, is stuck with water-based, mainly because they've had people that have been smoking. And you spray them. And that's why they have to use water-based. And a spray is better than a stream. Okay.
And why is alcohol better than
Alcohol because it absorbs into the skin faster. Right. And water, you know, if you have, you know, it's amazing how many police dogs are trained in a foreign language. Okay. And the reason they're trained in a foreign language is so that the person who is being attacked by a police dog can't say, stop, sit. Okay. You need to know what language this dog speaks. Okay. Other than barkish. But anyway, the same thing surprisingly happens, okay, and this is part of the conditioning, is, you know, you as students learn to react to either mate or okay, you don't react to ouch, please stop, it hurts, don't. Okay, those are words that are not, you know, they don't make sense to you. Okay, the only thing you react to, or you know how much pressure you're applying to this person, and you know what pain it's actually, pretty good idea what actual pain it's causing. One of the problems that Tony brought up is that if you are in a street situation and you are pinning a person or something like that, and they tap or say mate, and you let go, then you're back to square one. Okay? The odds of that happening are pretty slim, but it can happen. Okay? So it's just something to be aware of. I don't know how to resolve that problem.
How?
Okay? Because it's a condition reflex, yes.
I know how to.
Okay, for those of you that are black belts, I really recommend that even if it's a dull blade, okay, as this one is, that you go to a metal blade, okay? I have one, it's a regular, hunting knife. I file down the edge because I'm not totally stupid, okay? And I will use that in demonstrations once in a while. Even if you do that, simply to see a real metal knife in another person's hand has a psychological effect on you, okay? So it's something to consider, okay? Just in terms of, becoming a little more insensitive, okay? Like one of the things we're looking at for black belt requirements, new black belt requirements, is to require that at some point, probably before Sandan, somewhere there, that they take, every person who's got a black belt takes a handgun safety course. Okay? You don't need to own a handgun, but most black belts, regardless of martial arts, have never handled a handgun, have no idea how it functions, have no idea how it feels when it fires, okay? How loud it is. And so they have no concept, and they're dealing with a weapon basically in total ignorance, except the fact that it can put a hole in you, okay? Which they really don't realize until you've handled a weapon, okay? I never handled a handgun until, how many years ago? I went to Israel.
Look at me.
And they actually had me out in a firing range for 2 or 3 days with different types of handguns. I had never handled a handgun before, and it was, I didn't have to pay for any of this, but it was, neat, because I'd never done this before. But I have a whole different respect for guns now than I did before. Okay, so that's probably going to be one of the criteria. Simply because an awareness of a weapon, okay, how it feels, et cetera, gives you a better understanding, and you tend to be more, realistic about it. Yeah. Okay, he's going to come at you, and most of us are used to, okay, he comes in, and we do this technique, we're holding it mid-range here, and we're doing our hand throw, which is really nice, that it's done properly, and everyone's happy, okay. What I'd like you to consider, okay, because this is a weapon, he's trying to stab you, okay, and holding it here in the middle is nice, but rather than just bringing out and doing this thing on straight arm, okay, is when you come in here and you're bringing this up, you want to take your right foot, step in, bring it in towards the person. Even if you're going to be out here, come in a little bit so the knife is pointing towards them. It will change their perspective of the weapon. Okay, and if it's coming towards them, they will have a tendency to, they want to go back, or they're going to lean back, and that makes the technique easier to execute because they're off balance now. Okay. And if they happen to cut themselves in the throat in the process, okay,
Your prints aren't on it.
your prints, that's why Tony was saying, how do you take the weapon? And ideally you grab it right at the hilt, okay, and don't get your prints on the grip if you get. This is really idealistic, like you can really remember this on the street, okay, and put it behind you this way so that his prints are on the grip and yours are at the top of the blade, okay, or the base of the blade, right, okay. So anyway, so we're going to have you try to bring hand throw, and here, come in and bring it up towards him, okay, and then execute. This also gets the blade away from you, okay, because you don't want it pointing at you. That's not, if I do a technique like this, I can get cut a lot easier than if I'm doing it this way.
May I contribute?
Yes.
One other reason, do a mid-range, not pointing at me. Anybody is going to pull out and cut your thumb off while they pull out, if it's mid-range. The idea of having it in this way, because I really can't pull out when he's got me in the wrist press. And 99.78% of the time, if it's midway, he is going to pull out and take his thumb off in the process. Because once somebody grabs a knife hand and the knife is in your hand, anybody with a knife in their hand is focusing on that knife, and it's a gut reaction. They don't even have to be trained. Their instinct is, that's my knife. Give me that back, But from here, I can't do that. And I really can't.
Okay. Here's another reason. Okay. Very good. Okay, so let's try this. Stop.
Fluffy.
We'll remember that.
That's my daughter's horse's name. Fluffy. I don't know why anyone I would name my horse Fluffy. This horse has a.
Is
better
it
than
poofy?
you. Is it what?
Is the horse poofy? Does it have a poofy mane and tail?
No, it's obstinate horse. Maybe there's a lot of space between its ears. Anyway. Fluffy. Okay, anyway. Okay. We're going to have I come around from behind. Okay. And I'm not as much concerned about, well, the technique is important. But I'm more concerned with your hand positions and what you do with that, because again, it's an issue of protecting your neck. Okay. And reducing injury to yourself, not necessarily eliminating it. Okay, so he's going to come up behind. Okay, and you've got to get a hand up here. Okay, it is critical. Even though you might think, gee, if I could get the hand this way, I could grip his wrist. Okay, and maybe force him away. Okay, if his normal reaction, if you try and grip, is he is going to pull away. Okay, you're going to get your hand sliced, which will make this hand useless. Okay. Okay. So when a person comes, you sense anything coming up behind you, you want to get a hand up here, whether it be a rope, chain, knife, it doesn't matter.
Nunchucks.
Even if they want to do a rear form choke. Okay. You get a hand up there if you can, palm facing. Okay. The reason palm is facing you is to protect your neck and face. If you get cut here, okay, yeah, it's going to be messy. But you're still going to have some use of your hand. You're still going to have flexion. Okay. Okay, and that's what's important. Okay. So there are two steps. Again, anytime anyone's going to put anything around your neck, if you can get a hand up here, fine. The other thing is you have two choices of what to do, assuming he gets this set. Okay. One is you're going to take and hit this elbow across and bring this hand up a little further. Okay. Again, it's still there to protect you, okay? And then from here, you can simply turn into a shoulder lock or a takedown if you want, okay? Or you're here and you can try and bring him down, set an arm bar, okay? If you want, okay? That's by bringing the elbow into you, okay? To save your life, okay? Then from here, you're going to push this across. Okay, or my preference is actually to bring it down to my chest, hold on for dear life, and then just turn in. Okay. And set my shoulder lock at that point. Okay, I think it's a safer way to do it, to bring that elbow across. Now, if you want to do an arm bar or some of the other things, fine. But as far as protecting your neck, I think bringing it down against your chest and holding it there is the safest way to go. And turning your body. Okay, so we're going to have this hit. Okay, we're going to block. Okay, block. Two things happen. Okay, number one, right hand comes up to just below elbow. Okay, left hand slides down, turns wrist to bend wrist. Okay, now what I'm going to be doing is this hand here is basically going to be lightly holding on, bending his arm as I step forward. Okay. You will feel if you're doing this right that you are exerting, what am I doing? Why is he falling? Okay. It's that simple of technique. If you try and push him with your right hand, it isn't going to work. Okay. What you have to do, and I'm not going to worry about submission here. You're here, bring this down, this hand is here. And it just stays in place as you walk forward, and you need to keep this as perpendicular or parallel line of direction as you're going, and this is what's pushing, and because the elbow is bent, this sort of serves as a base down. Okay? If you understand the physics of it, it makes sense. If you look at it and say, why is he going down? It doesn't make sense, because it doesn't look like I'm doing anything to him.
Do you have any particular direction you're going with the
This
left
here?
hand?
Okay. This hand is going in this direction. This hand is just keeping this bent so that I can apply pressure That's it.
You're not turning it.
I'm not turning it or, no.
It's like you're trying to.
Okay, here, you bring it, sorry. And you can try and bring the person down, but it's hard to, this is hard to do, okay? But if you just put the hand in there,
Makes a huge difference.
makes a huge difference. And I'm not really pushing with that hand.
No.
I'm just placing it there against his arm. Okay? So the purpose of this part is to keep his arm bent. It's kind of like, you know, that's the sole purpose of it. I'm not pushing with this hand, it's just here.
It's a guide.
It's a guide. This is the hand that pushes. Essentially, you're doing a wrist press from a standing position with an imaginary forward. Okay. Pull, and then this hand goes here, just above his elbow, and you push and you take him down. Okay. If you are blocking across, you're blocking to the outside. Okay. You still have the same technique. Okay. You slide down, bend the wrist. Instead of the hand going on the forearm, though, it goes just on the upper arm. Again, because you've got to have this bend. Okay, and wherever it bends to, which is going to be downward, that's the wrist press. You can see the wrist press here. That's all I'm going to do. Okay, so it's the exact same technique. It's just from the other side, and the hand shifts from here to the upper arm, so you can maintain the bent elbow. Okay, so you can try that. Then we're going to come back and deal with what happens if you can't get his wrist to bend. And what else do we have going with this? There's some nerve things you can do that are variances on this, but I want you to try and do this without nerves and stuff like that, just to get the concept down. Hanging his fist. Okay, this is not good. That's even worse. Okay, here to here. Okay, you pull down. He's not going to let this wrist bend. Okay, my hand is here. What I want to do, okay, is I'm going to do a quick jerk down. Okay, and that may get his wrist to bend. Okay, just by simply you're here and just jerk down. It's a distraction. Then try and turn his wrist. Okay, and then I'm set to go. That may work. Okay.
Jerking down with both hands?
No, just
or
jerking down with
just
this one.
the right hand.
And I know, you know, it's not like his arm was relaxed and I could jerk down and he'd really go down. Okay, what it's doing is it's just I'm making him concentrate on this for a moment. All it is a distraction. Okay, you can't take away and hit. Okay, I could come in and go for a nerve, but in this position it's not going to work too well. Okay, backhand, etc. Your hand is here. Just do a quick downward. Now, the thing is, when you do this, the hard part is not doing it with your whole body. Okay, it's just the arm goes down. The rest of you stays up here. Okay, you got to here and then try and bend. Okay, so that's one option. Then you can do the technique. If he comes in again here and you sense it's not going to bend, okay, fine. You're in this position. Why does what are you going to have? What you're going to go do from here is just keep this arm here. Come around under him. He still has his fist, but you moved up a joint. Okay? Always help him. Okay, so you can try that. Okay? So this here, okay? You come in, he's got his fist, this isn't working. If you sense he's not bending here, just you can maintain the pressure, give him something to worry about. What you're doing here really doesn't matter. Just go under him here, and now at this point you can push down at the elbow and take him down. Make sure you keep his wrist. His wrist you want perpendicular to the ground. That's all you need to have. If you turn it more, it isn't going to help. Okay? Third thing you can do. Here. Can't get to here, it isn't going to go. Okay? That's how we took him backwards. We can take him forwards. Almost like a finger throw. Except we got the wrist, and you take him forward. Okay? So you've got three things you can do if he doesn't want to do the first thing. And we haven't used any nerves.
You mean use nerves next time?
Okay, you get to here, and he chooses to resist. This won't happen, okay? All you have to do from this position is rotate your arm underneath and rotate him forward. Okay, you can take him that way, or once you get him to this position, okay, then you can slide your hand back up and come back into what you wanted to do and take him down. Okay. That can either be your forward, elbow roll takedown, or it can be a distraction for what you want to ultimately end up doing. Okay, so, just a new with an old. Okay, another technique. We're going to go back to headlock. Now we're going to do teinagi. Y'all know teinagi?
What's that mean?
Kote gaishi and kote gaishi.
Hand
You know
throw.
kote gaishi?
We did that earlier. First thing.
Yeah, we're going to come back to kote gaishi. Okay, he's going to have you in a headlock. Okay, this is not good. Okay, all we're going to have you do, okay, this hand is going to come up here, and what I want to do, okay, is I'm here, and I'm going to peel off a finger.
Oh, finger.
Okay, I have this finger, hand throw. Okay, over. Okay, go for any finger you can. You okay? Are you okay?
I love the attention.
No. Okay, you go for any finger you can get. Okay, doesn't matter. And you're just going to go for the nerve on the tip of the fingernail. Tip of the nail, okay, push it in to get the release. Okay, once you get the release, okay, we're going to go this time, okay, go ahead, both hands. Okay, once you get the release, okay, once you get your finger, okay, from here, ideally, which, oh,
You got
that's
the ring finger, is that good?
that's up
It
here.
works.
Okay, once you're down here, don't take the time to stand up. You're down here, do your hand throw. Okay, don't take the time to stand up. Okay, once you get that release, just going for a hand throw, left or right side. Okay? Okay. Very good. I believe that's the way it's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Sure. Reality is but the reality also is most humans only have two hands. Okay?
Most.
Some have one. Anyway, so okay. So if he happens to have right hand, if he has the right hand on top, opposite or whatever side you're on, if he has opposite on top, it's very easy to come in and do a hand throw from down here. Okay. If he has the other hand on top, you still follow the same concept. You grab one finger, okay, out here, and you still do your hand throw. You're just going with the other hand in the other direction. Okay. Keep in mind, you want to do a hand throw. It doesn't matter which hand is on top. Okay. All that hand on top determines is whether you're going to go this way or whether you're going to go this way. Okay.
Generally, you're expecting your...
Go ahead, put me in a headlock. No. Let's see. No, that's a really good headlock, actually. I was working with Thomas, and he had a really strong wrist, and I said, wow, you have a really strong wrist. He said, well, thank you. I said, so then I was with Tony over here, and I decided to try it on him, and I said, that's a really good headlock. He said, really? And I said, yeah. And then, realizing that, well, I work in the soulless business of industry, of entertainment industry. This is how we work our way up the ladder. Your boss says something really, really idiotic, and you say, wow, that really is a good idea. And he says, wow, thank you. And then you say, but then you could also do this. And he says, oh, okay, maybe we'll do that. That sounds better. And it's just verbal judo and classical.
Anyway. Okay. And for that, and as some of you that are black belts know this one already. And I said, oh my God, this is so dirt simple. So let me use, who wants to be, I'll use Mark. Okay. And basically what you're doing is, turn on, you're coming up behind the person. Okay. And all I'm going to do, and he could be facing off with someone else or involved in a confrontation with someone else, all I'm going to do is come up with this hand across his cheek and take him down. Or, Okay, or you can come across this way and set up a restraint. And
Can't
take
they
it
just
down.
like slip out though?
Yeah, they could.
Like if
but
you're
the point
taking them down, you
The
can.
point is, if you're supporting their back, okay, if you're supporting the shoulder, it's very difficult for them to do. And you can cause a lot of pain here, okay? And you can go across the temple, which I don't advise because it tends to slip off the head. The more is simply to come across under the cheekbone, okay? And they haven't learned this part yet. But this works as a very good restraint, and it's a way simply to come up behind the person and simply come up behind them, take them down. Okay, if you just want them down on the ground. The problem occurs. You're all going to try this because it's just basically you're coming up across here, turning their head, okay, and then just taking them down. Okay, now if you take them down, you go with this and you take them down to the ground, okay, which is a good restraint. How do you get in a cuffing position?
You call them back up.
Okay, if you're by yourself, how do you get them in a cuffing position?
So.
And the only way they've been able to do it has been to release this at some point to come across my feet.
No.
No, okay. And that's the problem with it. As far as bringing a person down, it's a good. And if you want to control them on the ground fine and maintain that cross cheek nerve press, it's fine and it works. Okay.
Have they
And that is, if I'm just doing this, okay, I've got one point going, okay, and I'm basically turning his body, okay. If on the other hand, I can do something on this side of his body, okay, because this contact is coming from this side of the body, okay. If I can do something on this side of the body just prior to doing that, it's a distraction, but it also develops, it develops some body movement on his part. And it has to be done from, basically waist down, because this is his balance point down here. Okay. So rather than doing that, if I just come in, and this comes from, what is it, the nerve book, the balance points. Okay. Okay. If I just go with the palm down and come in this way, okay, and then come down, okay. I've taken him off balance already before we even started this. Okay.
Palm down where to the,
Yeah, palm down.
Yeah.
There are, we'll do this, because you should know this. This is simple stuff. There are what are called balance points in the human body. Okay. It's in the back of the nerve book, and everything. Okay. And then they start going, hey, this stuff works. Okay. And one is palm down to the left cheek. Okay, which causes them to go that way. You can do palm down to the right cheek or right palm down to here. You can go down in the middle, although it doesn't work as well. Okay, you can from the front. Okay, if you go down the side of the neck and across under the armpits, you have 2 points where you can just come in and turn the person. It's very non-violent. Okay, Captain Buffalo can stand there. Captain Buffalo. And you can come in and just put this hand here and this hand here, and you can turn them, okay? Because or you can come in, palm up, either just below the belly button, Sakitanda, push in, or in the groin to the left, okay, or to the right. And all these will cause either the person to bend over forward, or go backwards, or turn to the left, or turn to the right, okay? And if you want to move a person very non-violently, let's say you're in a crowd and you want to get by them, okay? You can just come in. Or if someone
hope you don't get slapped.
hope you don't get slapped. You'll be gone by the time they know what happened. The other option is to show this to you. I mean, you can actually practice this if you want. And this is actually used by some law enforcement people if they want to get past a group of people. Is they put the hand here and they just go like that. And the person will naturally, they will naturally move away because
What
they
is
think
that?
someone's going for their pocket or something, okay? And by the time they look to see who it was, the person is gone. So you can try this. If you got, let's get, have you two people stand up. Backs to me. You're next to him. If I want to go between these guys, normally you can't do this, they're going to turn around and hit me. But if I just go like, you know, it seems stupid, but it works, okay? So we'll let you try this, we'll let you try the balance. He's coming in to do a hip throw, okay? He comes in to do a hip throw, just come in and do a hip throw, okay? He just come in, just don't give me a hard time, just do it. That's all I did, step out of the way. Okay? If he wants to do tai tosh, come on, do tai tosh. It's, you know, and they wonder, what did you do? And you didn't do much of anything. Okay? Side issue, if you want to completely stop the hip throw or tai tosh. This won't work if the person is really winding in, really tight. Okay, this won't work. But if he comes in for a hip throw or tai tosh, and you just put your arm out in there, that will usually stop him. These are nothing techniques to stop. Okay, here comes in, come. I just bring that arm across down there. Okay, and that's all I've done. Okay, now I've got to shift my body, because if I stay here and he continues to do what he does, I am going to get thrown. Okay. Next step is to side step just a little bit. Okay. And once you're here, he's off balance. Okay. So that's an application of the off balancing. Okay. Anyway, okay.
Okay, so what I do is I parry with this hand, palm straight to the ribs on this side, turn the body. Shoot in.
There are certain characteristics of combination techniques that work. In any technique you do, you're going to have a fulcrum, you're going to have a pivot point, okay? And ideally they're usually the same spot, okay? When you start putting techniques together, we're talking about basic techniques here, what you have to remember is that you cannot have two fulcrums and you cannot have two pivot points. If you have two fulcrums or two pivot points, it's not going to work, okay? If, for example, I'm trying to think of one here. Okay, if let me use Thomas. Okay, he looks vicious. Okay. If I want to do, I want to do a shoulder lock, rear takedown. Okay, which would the fulcrum is going to be right here, and this is the pivot point as it rotates back. Okay, if I want to combine that with a hip throw, okay, which is easy to do. Okay, it looks horrible. Okay, but if I come around and combine this with a hip throw, okay, this is no longer my pivot point or my fulcrum. Okay, this is okay. If I try to do, it'll work with Makikomi, it'll work with Harigoshi, it'll work with Tai Tosh. If I try and do this, for example, with a key turn, it's not going to work. Okay, because now I'm rotating back this way, and I'm also rotating this way. Okay, so I've got two.
They cancel each other out.
They end up canceling each other out, or you lose one or lose both. Okay, so the techniques have to complement each other. Okay, so the first one we're going to have you try. It looks horrible, but it's really actually once you start doing your hip throw or harigoshi or tai tosh, there is no pressure on the shoulder. It just looks like there is, because you use it. So we're going to have you come around and just do your hip throw, take it down. Okay, because what will happen is this will slip out in the process. Or if you're holding it, you can come down with it and then finish up your shoulder lock on the ground. Okay, but I want you to do this. Take your time. Okay, you know both techniques correctly, correct? Okay, take your time, and you realize when you're being thrown that as the hip throw is being done, there's no pressure on your shoulder. Okay, there may be sights out people who aren't aware of what's going on. Okay? Just don't steer. Sotomaki komi.
Huh?
Okay, with a wrist press. Oh, there it is. Okay. And
Oh, I thought you wanted me behind you.
no.
What did you call this? Sotomaki. Oh, Sotomaki.
Outside one teeth. Okay, now, attack is irrelevant. He comes in with it, coming with a hit line. We're going to block it across. We're going to come out. Normally for an Sotomaki komi, you come around, you're grabbing the back of the wrist, you wind this down in, okay, and from here you drop down, okay, and we rarely complete that in class because it's kind of rough on Uke, particularly his face, okay. Okay, you can, if you want to go down slowly, it looks really klutzy, okay, you can go down slowly and he can go down okay, and then you're set, okay, and you raise this up, okay, that's your basic Sotomaki komi. Okay. If you want to make it a little nicer, you add your Tekumi Shiriwaza. He comes in, cross, go around, set this up, bend the wrist. Okay. And you can go down with this and it works just as well, if not nicer. And then your submission, rather than raising the entire arm up, we're going to go down here. Okay. Okay. Here, rather than raising the arm up, all you have to do now is push in on the back of the wrist, okay, for your submission, okay. And this, again, is something where you combine your techniques. It's really simple. The way you get out of this safely, such it, okay, is, okay, because I just don't want to get up and, you know, that's not too smart. Grab a finger and maintain, keep it there, because that's going to be your control in case he tries to get up. Okay? 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 And then he can get up and you're safe. Okay? So, we're going to have you put Tekumi Shimiwaza together with the Sotomaki komi, outside winding takedown. Okay? You can do outside winding takedown fairly aggressively. I mean, instead of winding down here, you can come all the way up to the shoulder if you want. Actually, the higher you go, the better it is. And just, you can go armpit to shoulder and just come around, okay, and then drop down. It works so much nicer. But Uke will not appreciate it. What?
Sit, listen.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, you know, you can either try it winding it down here, or you can come up to put it, get a shoulder in your armpit, and drop down that way slowly. Okay, and then you can also set up your wrist press. Okay. Any questions? Let's see what line, and this is one of those techniques you are not going to be able to complete. Okay,
Well,
but it is a good combination. Okay, and that is a hand throw combined with a taitoshi.
what's the
Okay.
title?
Drop throw. Okay.
What's the drop?
You cannot complete the technique. You can complete the technique, but you will dislocate the person's elbow in the process of doing the taitoshi. Okay, so just keep this in mind. There are some techniques, I know within Budoshin Jujitsu and also within some of the other styles of Jiu-Jitsu, where you simply cannot complete the technique because even in practice, the only outcome is an injury. Okay, so you need to be very careful with your students when you're showing this, because sometimes they do try to find out, does this really work? And you got to nail those students before they even attempt that and say, yes, it is going to work, trust me. Okay. Your parents can come in and do it to you if you don't believe me. And then they're responsible for the injury to their child. Okay, let me borrow Jeff here since he's taking notes. Okay. You've got the baby notes. Okay. Now, one of the things I like, because, you know, like Jeff's taking pictures and Peter's taking pictures, videos. You guys need to get together, because I'd like to see and Thomas is taking pictures, I'd like to see a complete thing together, because
We already have a conspiracy to plant these things on the website.
Okay, because it would make a great DVD possibly by the time we're done. Okay. And if we end up with a couple of DVDs, I can put them on the store, and we find some way to split the profits. Or not that the DVDs.
Do we all get a free copy?
That's up to them.
Not for you.
I know the one we did of the Kryptonite 5. Okay, I'm going to come around. I'm going to come set this thing up for a hand throw as I'm normally going. I'm going to set up as for a hand throw, except when I get to this point, I'm going to step in, and that's where the technique stops. Okay, because if I snap the leg before he goes, what happens is my right hip moves forward. And that, if this is set properly, right here, this should dislocate his elbow.
Yeah, feels that way.
Okay? Yes.
Can you do?
Oh, bad. I was up in Monterey. Okay. Okay. Gonna come around, slice his neck. Okay. In which case, I don't need to do anything else. But in Jiu-Jitsu, we
Follow through.
because we
Would like
Don't want to be
to.
damaged afterwards.
never assume anything is going to work. Now that's a martial art that has a lot of confidence. Okay, you never assume anything's going to work, so that's why you have something else to do. Okay, and why you follow through. Okay, so we're going to set up here, and this is, I'm sorry, this is as far as we're going to go with this technique. That's all I want you to do with it. Okay, okay. If you're the uke, you're going to feel that there's a lot of pressure on this elbow and wrist and shoulder. Okay, don't go any further than this. Okay. Take the weapon away in one of the techniques, and so you modify the grip. Okay, and that is probably the worst thing you can do, because what I've seen happen here before I corrected it, the people coming in, they set up the hand throw as they come in. That instead of keeping both hands here, which is essential because that's what allows you to tighten up this whole arm, so that when you snap your leg, it snaps your hip forward, and that dislocates the elbow, and then he gets thrown too. Okay. What I'm seeing people do are here, grabbing the wrist. Okay. Grabbing the wrist and taking the arm over. Okay. You take the arm over, it takes pressure off of his arm. Okay. And those are the two basic things I've seen happen. You've got to set this up, and your arm is on the inside. See where my arm is? It's next to me. Okay, right in line with his arm. Okay, it supports his arm. Okay, so that when I snap, its arm can't slide up, and it's not going to slide down. Okay. But you need to maintain this grip, even though it doesn't feel as secure, it still is. Okay? If you really want to make this technique even less nice, there is a technique where if you get the person here for a hand throw and you sense resistance, you come over from the inside, and you would actually change hands and just take it down that way. Okay? Which is a wrist winding throw. Okay? And you do this on the street, it's done there, and it'll break before he can fall. Okay.
But you can still even do the tight toe.
You can do this with a tight toe. You're here, okay, you think he's going to give you problems, or you want to impress his friends, you bring his hand in on the inside, okay, this still is a hand throw. Okay, and he's even under more pressure. Okay, and now I've got my arm here, so I know it's going to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I can dislocate his elbow right here. I don't even need to, So, just something to keep in mind there. What you need to do when you're putting stuff, if you're going to put stuff together, is to do it slowly. See if you feel comfortable and you feel balanced, because that's the key. You have to feel balanced yourself regardless of what you're doing. And then see how off balance he is. And the more off balance you can make him while you remain balanced, then you know you've probably got a valid combination technique. If I bend over like this to do this, okay, he's balanced. Okay, this is a nothing technique. Okay, you need to do the technique. That's why you need. That's why I say, when you're practicing kata, form is important. Things will never work that nice on the street. But you've got to get your kata down to where it's second nature so that you sense, you know, yeah, I've got him right. Okay, I know I'm in the right position. This isn't the neatest as far as kata is concerned, but have pretty good faith that it's going to work because everything is lined up the way it should be. Okay. Next one. Okay, what do we want to work with? Okay, Mayuinagi. Okay, if we want to make this into a combination, okay, we can add almost a key term with this. Okay. Okay, how do you ask? Okay, we're here, we're going to come around. Guess what? We set for a key term. Okay, take it down or sit. Okay, sometimes it's just a matter of moving, taking one technique, seeing where it allows you to move into another technique that will complement it. Okay, so you're here, wrist grab, it's good for last, around, turn it. Okay, you're here, start out here. We're going to keep the fingers bent, bring it in, he's here, take your head down. Okay, we still have finger, okay, it still qualifies as a Yoinagi of some sort. Okay, and then submit him, just put the arm down, then the fingers back and break it. Okay, easiest thing to do. So we're going to have you try it just for the fun of it.
Can I feel it from the other side?
You
The
want
same.
me to turn it around or?
No, stay in the same direction. So I
Here?
can see, yeah. I want to see the head.
Okay, here. Are you
Yes.
videotaping?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, here. Grab. Up. Get him off balance. This is a distraction. You're going to maintain the pressure on the back of his fingers. Down. He's here. Take him down.
By taking him down, that allows you to reach around. the
Right.
arm and distracts.
But you've got to maintain the pressure on the back of his fingers.
Is there a pressure point you're attacking when you're?
Yeah, we're going, I'm just looking into right under the jaw. There's a nerve there.
Isn't it the salivary gland?
You could, I don't know,
Or
you could grab ear, you could, if you want to be Albrocious, you can stick a finger in his ear. Okay, you can come across, grab the nose, you can hook into the mouth, whatever you happen to be, have a mindset for. You can grab hair, if they have hair, okay? It's not short on the sides, and whatever you want is irrelevant. No wrist grab, okay? A lot of you are familiar with this technique. A lot of you are familiar with this technique. We take them back. Okay. Some of you are familiar, and if you've never had this done to you, you should have it done just once to appreciate the pain.
I know what you mean.
I'm not going to do it to Mark because he's had it done to him plenty of times, and and I've had it done to me too. And if this is done right, the person will basically stand around for about 5 minutes looking at their hands, wondering why they don't work. Okay. And all you do is you come up here, and your thumbs are underneath, and what you're going to do is you're going to smash the backs of the hands, the wrists together. Okay. It hurts like hell. Okay. And on top of that, they're going to look at their hands and wonder why they can't move them or do anything with them for a couple of minutes. Okay. It's a tremendously effective technique. And they have little bruise marks on the back of their wrist. What were you doing? That's a weird place to put the back of the finger, but anyway. Okay, moving right along here. Okay, we're going to have you here. We're going to have you come in and do this. Okay, now he's worrying about his hands. Okay, all I want you to do, and this is an effective technique in and of itself. What you can do from here is as you're pushing in, okay, you can Sotogari, you can Uchigari, okay? You can come here, come around, okay? Crossbody hip throw, Harigoshi, anything you want, okay? Okay, because he's worried about his hands right now.
Purple fingers.
Okay,
That's a nice one.
around, pow, okay? I'm going to come in, I'm going to raise it up, do a cross-body hip throw, okay, if I want, okay? I'm here, push back as I normally would, and the sotogari, okay? I'm here, I can come in, I can reach for his face, cause his head to go back, okay? You can combine this, you know, and you can go for the throat, okay? Even better, okay, come here, pow, reach in, pop in, and take him that way. I mean, you know, use your imagination of what techniques you have, okay? And you can put complete techniques together to form other techniques that will work in combination just as well, okay? And once you start doing that, and it's easier to do once the student gets up into the ground belt level where they've got the basic techniques down. It's kind of like, it's almost a geometric process, okay? And I know Mark has gone through it, I know Tony has gone through it, probably Thomas has gone through it, I would assume so.
Yeah.
He's gonna grab, wacko. Don't do it here, I don't want to have to do it. Okay, you can push back, and either do a sotogari, okay, or raise up and do a cross-body hip throw, okay? Now, if you can do the cross-body hip throw, very important, let go of his left wrist as you're throwing him so that he can break his fall. Otherwise, Uke will be upset with you unless he knows how to break his fall with his feet. Now, what?
X-axis is...
I know, I'll get there. Okay, x-axis goes across, y-axis goes down, z-axis is in the front, on the back, okay? Okay, and the center of all this, the 0 point, is what is known also as your
origin.
It's your origin point, okay, or in the martial arts is what? The center of your hara, Saki Tanda, okay, about 2 inches below the navel, okay? And so, if you know, and when you are doing techniques, ideally what you want to do, where techniques will work very well, is if your axes are lined up with the opponent's axes, or if they are perpendicular to, particularly on groundwork submissions, okay? That's where your techniques are going to work best, and you're going to get your optimal leverage on anything, okay? That's why, you know, when you're doing the arm bar, for example, instead of bending over, okay, his y-axis is that way. If I'm bent over, my y-axis is going something like that, okay, at a 45 degree, and that's why I'm going to get pulled over. The technique doesn't work right. On the other hand, if you reposture yourself, okay, or you bring your hip in, it gets you up, and your y-axis is now perpendicular to his y-axis. Your x-axis, mine going this way, is not perpendicular to his axis, and same. All the axes are perpendicular, okay, and that helps the technique work a lot better because everything is lined up, okay. Okay, you also have, we're getting that down. You got the concept, okay. The other thing is you have what's called a sphere, okay. And this you get, for those of you in education or other fields, it's called a Venn diagram. You get two spheres or planes together.
The MasterCard symbol.
Okay, and the MasterCard symbol. Okay, now, Autumn's sphere or plane of influence is not as great as mine is, okay. Her sphere extends to the limit of her ability to kick, to reach, okay, in any direction, okay. If I stand out here and she stays there, she can kick till hell freezes over, and she's not going to get to me, okay. I could come in and hit her, okay. Just stand still, okay. So extend your arm, okay. She can't get to me. Okay, even though the sphere's crossed. Okay, so yes, you could kick. So another thing you need to realize, and some of you know this anyway, is that in order to have an effective technique, your sphere has to, you have to move your y-axis so that you can get close enough to do whatever you're going to do to your opponent. Okay, so if you're, which is why one reason when when I have students practice, I say don't do a round hit. Okay, you want to do a straight hit, and you want to stop about 2 inches from the person's nose. That's about as close as you can safely get. Okay, and this person should be moving around that area anyway. Okay, so you have this sphere around you as well. Okay, that is the only place where you can effectively defend yourself. Okay, if I stand out here with a knife, I can't do anything to her. She can stick her tongue out at me. She can call me names. Okay, refer to my parents in a derogatory manner, and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, because my sphere is too far from her. Okay. If, on the other hand, I'm right here with a knife, okay, she's going to be very cooperative or she's going to break my wrist, okay? So you need to be aware of where you are in relationship to your attacker, okay? Third area, which is going to take us back to the hara or sakitanda. Most of us are taught, let's say for simple hand throw, Sensei says, lock the wrist. Okay, and so you say, okay, I have locked the wrist. This is why the person is going down. Okay, and that's totally inaccurate. Okay, and you need, in kinesthetics, there is a concept known as joint chain hierarchy. Okay, and you have what are called child joints and a parent joint. Okay, if you're doing a hand throw, okay, for example, this is a child joint. Okay, what happens when I lock this joint up? What do you see happening to Autumn? Okay, the other joints are affected. Okay, elbow locks up. It actually doesn't lock up. Okay, and the shoulder locks up. Okay, and then because her shoulder locks up, her body reacts and turns. Okay, and when you work through joint locking techniques, rather than saying, gee, I've locked the wrist, and what you're doing is it's actually what's occurring here is what's called joint dampening. Okay, a joint will turn a certain amount, and as it gets to its limitation, the tendons and ligaments in there prevent it from going further. And it's kind of like it slowly stops it from rotating any further. If those tendons weren't there, you'd be breaking wrists all over the place. Okay. So,
also, you wouldn't be able to move because.
But anyway, you have these child joints. In this case, the parent joint is the shoulder, because this is the last joint that gets locked up. Okay, so even if I went, okay, right now all these joints here are being ignored. Okay, if on the other hand I go to a nerve attack here, okay, and use this to lock her up, okay, now we have all these other joints are included as child joints. Okay, and the joint chain hierarchy goes from the parent joint down to the joint you are using. Okay, you're with me on that so far. Okay. Okay. Now, two other things. Okay, what happens to her body as I lock this up? What two things are happening to her body?
Off balancing.
Okay, it's off balancing her, okay, which is critical, which is going to take us back to the hara in a moment, okay, Sakitanda. What else is happening?
The axis are being disoriented.
Okay, the axis is going off. There's an old judo rule.
Kazushi.
No, well you've
off
off-balanced
balance.
you've off-balanced Kazushi, but there's an old judo rule that deals with what direction you can throw a person.
Oh, the way you're printing?
Follow her head.
What?
Follow the head. So her head.
Follow the head. Whatever direction the head is going, the body will follow. Okay, so as I do this, you'll notice the body goes and the head is going in that direction. Okay, and because I'm going to pivot around, the head's going to go and she's going to go. Okay, so your actual in the human body. Okay, here's where you get into the differences in theory and okay. Anatomically, okay, the root, you have what is called a root joint, your main joint, okay, and that main joint is the atlas joint, where your skull connects to the top of your vertebrae, okay? And that's theoretically your root joint, okay? And so theoretically, when you rotate that root joint, the head will follow, and the body will follow, okay? However, in human beings, okay, because what's our Latin name? Homo
Sapiens.
erectus, okay?
Oh.
And he rectus, she rectus, someone rectus. But anyway, so that's why we have all these lower back problems as we get older and knee problems, is because we stand upright, okay? And you have in the lower vertebrae, okay, if you go to the interior, okay, and as you become an adult, these vertebrae fuse together, okay, you have what's called the sacroiliac, okay, and that's sort of like your legs, your hips, okay, there's your triangle here, and you have this base here where everything comes together, okay, and if you cross-reference your XYZ axis, your point of origin, your hara or sakitandan, it is almost at the exact same spot as the interior of the middle of your sacroiliac. Okay? So, here's what's happened. This works as a base for your movement. Okay? So if you are off balance, if you go backwards, you're trying to compensate not up here for this balance, but down here. That's why senseis always say posture, okay? Because if she's off balance and she can take a step back and regain her, she's no longer off balance, even if her head is back, okay? So because this goes back, that forces her head back, okay? So now you can sit down. That's the theory in the book, is that if you can off balance your sakitanda, your hara, okay, if you can off balance the person here, okay, and doing this actually off balances you, okay, you will then be able to do whatever technique you're doing, okay. So the key becomes you have to obviously use Kazushi. You have to off balance your opponent. Okay, and whether that be done with a hit, which causes them to bend forward, okay, strike to the face, causes them to bend back, Koshinagi, which takes them up, pulls them forward, takes them off the ground, Teinagi, which locks up the joints through joint dampening, throws them in a circular way. All of these are the result of your ability to unbalance your opponent, and to then channel that energy as a result of that unbalancing. Okay. Why is this important? So that you have a better understanding of what you're doing. Okay. And so that if things don't work, you can go back and rather than saying, pardon Denny here. Okay. See, he wasn't here yesterday, so he needs to get up on it. Okay. Rather than saying, gee, I didn't turn his wrist far enough. Okay. Or, gee, I didn't, just stand it. I didn't, do whatever I'm supposed to do. You say, okay, what happens was I failed to unbalance him. Okay, and what did I not do that caused him to remain balanced? Or what did he do to compensate for my attempt to unbalance him? And then you go and say, okay, that is what I have to deal with. Okay, and so rather than twisting the wrist and trying to throw him this way, and he just sidestepped and he just walks around me. Walk like this, walk. And we do this all day, okay? Okay, because I'm doing this wrong. I have to realize that if I bend this joint properly and I lock it up, I dampen it, ultimately it's going to take everything else with it. He's going to be off balance, okay, and he will go. Okay, if you're going to do Tai Tosh, okay, drop throw, okay, we'll do it this way, okay. If I can pull him forward where he's off balanced, okay, then he's going to go. If I try and do a Tai Tosh and he's like this, stay balanced, okay. And we've got all this room in here, he's okay, I'm never going to be able to do it. Okay, so you have to go back essentially to him and say, what do I need to do to this person to get them to do what I want them to do? Okay. If you look at your art this way, Okay, it's changed the way I teach, and you've been with me. How long about?
A year and a half.
About a year, and I think you've probably seen it change. Okay, this changes how you, if you're a sensei, it's going to change how you teach, because you stop looking at techniques as just this is this technique, you learn it. Okay, you start looking at it in terms of what am I doing to his body, and then you say what other things can I do to his body to make him go that way or make him go the way I want to. And you start looking at things as blocking up joints, off balancing, okay, from either the root joint here or down here, I think it's called the humanoid joint, okay, because we're homeless erectus. Okay, and you start looking at how you're doing techniques differently. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a point.
Yes.
I've been out on my own, away from my sensei's day-to-day training for 12 years or so, teaching in my own dojos. And he said he's come up with this way of, and it's changed the way he teaches. I came to the same conclusions totally independently.
Right.
Of my own. I approach it a little bit differently. I look at it a little bit differently. I use a little bit different terms, but I've done the same thing on my own. By working the art and understanding how it works, I've come to the same conclusions, and I teach it that way. And just if I can make one point about this, the way I teach it, not state. Just stand here. Okay, this is normal stance. Just ready to. Here. For Kazushi, off balance, it's all about off balancing. Balance is everything. I teach 3 rules in Jiu-Jitsu. First rule is move. Okay? First rule is move. You gotta move. Second rule is balance is everything. You want your balance to be as good as you can make it. You want your opponent's balance to be as bad as you can make it. Okay? And the third rule is use your strengths against their weaknesses. Okay? But as far as balance, all you need to remember is you got basically 3 balance points. Okay? You've got balance point here, center of the chest. It's a line that runs right through the chest, comes out right through the heart point, shinzo. Okay? Right here. Okay? You've got your koshi, or your itan, hara, sekatana, whatever you want to call it, which runs through this point, send the body out through the sacrum in the back, what you were talking about, okay, and the feet. Okay, consider it upside down Y, point, 2 points on the feet. Okay, upside down Y. Okay, if you can affect 1 or preferably 2 of those points, he's going to go down. Okay? It doesn't matter how you do it. You move this point, you move this point even 1 inch in any direction, and he's off balance. Okay? The hip, you move it even 1 inch, either way, he's off balance. When you affect the feet, you take it, you cut his balance points out from under him. So where his feet are located, this point and this point, how they line up, he's balanced. You affect those points, he's unbalanced. And any way I do it, to move this point, okay, I can do it with a throw by, really working, moving the whole body, moving this whole body, move this point, okay, but I can do it, I can move this point as simply as hair grab, any joint lock, it works up a line, moves this point. As soon as that point's moved, he's going to go down. Okay, so if you think of it that way, if I'm having trouble with the technique, I'm not getting it to work, then have I moved this point, or one of those points. Typically, to move this point, the best way to affect that is with a turn, by turning it one way or another. That's your best way to move this point. The koshi, best way to move it is to lift it. Okay. And the feet, of course, we'll move them. See by sweeping it out from under. Okay, so Shinzo, Koshi, Ashi, you move those balance points.
Okay. And each of those balance points obviously affect the heart, okay, or his Kazushi, okay. I tend to look at, you know, if the head moves, that's one. Down here's two, and obviously if you get the feet to move, he's toast. Okay. But what we want you to do, what I want you to do, okay, all I want you to do, we're just gonna do some basic techniques. I want you to do them slowly. Now, one thing we've left out of here is the concept of levers, okay, and the 3 different kinds of levers. And we're not gonna hit that because surprisingly that gets seen. And secondly, as you go through some techniques, the relationship of the fulcrum to the effort to the load changes as you're going through the technique. So sometimes, you know, you'll start out, for example, with Tai Tosh, and down here is my fulcrum, okay? This is my effort. There's the load, okay? Okay, that's one class of lever, okay? However, as I'm going, once I snap the leg, okay, if I snap the leg for the Tai Tosh, then my effort is down here, okay? The load is still there, okay? And the fulcrum actually then comes up here, okay? So depending upon what you do with your technique, those 3 points will also change. Okay, so it's kind of hard to say this single technique will show this lever. Because many times when you're working through a technique, because you're moving and Uke is moving, those, you know, the fulcrum, effort, and the load change. Okay, hand throw. Okay, hand throw. This is your x-axis. This is your x-axis, y-axis, x-axis, z-axis. Okay. One. This is the length. Is the y, okay? What crosses the x vertically is the z. Well, actually, okay, because you have to look at this sphere in different, with these axes in different perspectives. Okay, so here, this is, the fulcrum is right here at this point. The effort is going to be out here, okay? The load is up there, okay? Okay, and a hand throw actually works fairly well as long as I remain static, okay? However, once I put my body into it, okay, and I step forward and rotate here, and I'm not turning this any longer, then my effort is here, okay? My fulcrum, because I've dampened him, fulcrum is actually here, and the load is still over here, okay? So you gotta move the load. Anyway, so that, I don't really want to get into that aspect of it today because, well, dealing with a whole bunch of loads, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, okay, is I'd like you to come out and just go through, you have a good pulse too. I'm happy for Denny, he's got a good pulse. Anyway,
You counting?
It's amazing what you learn in the martial arts. I'm going to take your pulse. You've got a good pulse now. I'll break your wrist. Anyway, what I'd like you to do is simply to go through a hand throw a couple times, okay? And rather than saying, okay, I'm locking up the wrist and that's where it's going, I want you to take your time so that you can sense where you're, because we're not really locking the wrist, we're dampening the wrist joint, okay? Where you're dampening this joint, and then you need to sense, because to do an effective technique, you need to sense all of this, okay? You sense the elbow and you sense the shoulder, okay? And you can do it by peripheral vision, you can do it by feel, doesn't matter. But you've got to sense all these things, because if he stays straight up, I'm not going to get this throw, okay? I may break his wrist up here, but I'm not going to get the throw. Okay? And my intent is not necessarily, my intent is not to injure him, my intent is to get him down. So I've got to do this, and you want to be able to sense all, because if you can sense what's happening to his body, you will know how much effort you need to apply to satisfactorily execute a technique. Okay?